Good afternoon and welcome to the first edition of The Pulse for the 2020-2021 school year. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Emily Madden. We are excited to be back in the studio after distance learning and summer break. On this week's edition of The Pulse, we will highlight a group positively impacting the MHS community and a spot with a rich history. We have all this and much more on this week's edition of The Pulse.
The Pulse starts now.
COVID-19 has presented an abundance of challenges for people from all walks of life. For ice cream shop Center Scoop, the virus interfered with their opening. Ben Roy heads to the storefront to see how this local business has persevered through the pandemic.
Located at the top of Main Street sits one of the newest additions to downtown Manchester. Center Scoop, an ice cream parlor operated by the same owners of Center Perk, a breakfast nook located 3 doors down.
Running a small business is an extremely hard task in itself, but what effect did the pandemic have on a newly established Manchester business?
Through the COVID-19 pandemic, Center Scoops became a presence on Manchester's most beloved street, although its opening was delayed due to these unprecedented times.
We were supposed to open here in April, and we weren't allowed to open until June, whatever June it was. And here and next door, it really has impacted, especially our little Center Perk next door, because we only were doing takeout for a while, and now we're back 75%, so it's better.
Center Scoops is a unique new business on Main Street, but what drove Kimberly to want to create the parlor?
We wanted to get ice cream on Main Street. We've been talking about it for years, and this came available, and so we just went with it.
At the bottom.
Owning not only one but 2 small businesses can mean big consequences when met with a major economic event.
Because we were never open before COVID here. Next door, of course, yeah, it's impacted financially quite a bit.
However, Center Scoops has succeeded these times, doing so with great customer satisfaction and success through their delicious hard-serve ice cream, made on site.
We get the dairy mix from Fish Farm. It's the milk, cream, and sugar. We put it in our machine and we add whatever we want, ingredients. It could be chocolate chips, it could be strawberries, mint chocolate chip. I mean, as you can tell, we make a lot of ice cream.
When it comes to making the authentic ice cream, Kimberly wants her customers to know one thing.
It is homemade. We make everything here. We get the freshest ingredients that we can find, and that's what customers want. That's what they want. You know?
This unique process is not going unnoticed by customers, especially Nancy Gardner-Quigley, a regular at Center Scoops.
This ice cream is spectacular. It's like my homemade ice cream. When I lived in Texas, I used to make it, and this is better.
Not only regulars, but new customers appreciate and love the quality of Center Scoops ice cream.
It's really good, and I like the strawberry that they put in it, like the chunks of it.
The support of loyal customers is what keeps precious small businesses around Manchester alive.
Through the stress and uncertainty of recent times, local businesses like Center Scoops have learned how to adapt to the pandemic. So when thinking of getting a nice bite of ice cream, come down to Center Scoops on Main. From the Pulse, this is Ben Roy reporting.
If you're ever craving a sweet treat, make sure you pay a visit to Center Scoop. Trees changing color and the air getting colder usually signals high school football season. But with the CIAC's cancellation of full contact football, the 2020 season is much different for players. Alec Bairos takes a look at how the 7v7 alternative has affected the team.
With Connecticut high school football season being canceled, the CIAC has granted players to play 7v7. Although this does give players the opportunity to play, many players don't have the same experiences.
We asked senior wide receivers and defensive backs what their initial reaction to the season being canceled looked like.
I was upset because we worked so hard for the past 2 to 3 years.
I was heartbroken, senior year, since freshman year I've been building up to this one moment.
I was pretty frustrated with the decision and the way it was dragged on.
Fortunately for these players, they were granted the opportunity to play 7v7 football. However, this game greatly varies from traditional 11v11.
But it's a chance to sharpen my skills. I'm still staying ready for the season in the spring.
I think the 7v7 option for our season has affected like all of our teammates in very different ways. I mean, some enjoy it, some like me don't like it because it doesn't give our linemen, opportunities to play with us.
Although players like Jaden and Rahid get to play during 7v7 football, players like Noah Lindstrom, who are in the defensive line, don't get the same opportunities.
Yeah, it's been really tough for us, especially as offensive linemen. We don't play, so we stay on the sideline and we're there for our teammates, but yeah, we don't play, so it's tough. But we still like going to practice and getting better every day.
It has even affected many players' college recruiting process.
The pandemic kind of closed down camps and stuff, and I had camps lined up for the summer. But other than that, that was really, for me, the only thing.
Despite these new challenges, the players are still optimistic for a possible 11v11 season in the spring. I wish every player the best of luck in their 7v7 season and wish them all the best. From Manchester, this has been Alec Bairos reporting.
Just like football season, college application season has changed significantly for seniors. SAT cancellations and closed campuses has made a tough task even more complicated. Mia Hickey seeks out tips for seniors currently in the process.
Seniors every year stress about the unknowns of applying for college. However, the class of 2021 has to make a decision with even more factors than any other class, including compromising for distance or in-person learning, and including the missing out of traditional high school events.
Anthony Amaral, a senior here at the high school, describes how the coronavirus has impacted both his junior and senior year.
It wasn't a big deal because it was my junior year and it wasn't my senior year, but I still missed out on junior prom and all of my track season. And now that's still going, like I'm missing out on states for cross country, and I'm missing out on a ton of other stuff as well that the seniors last year got to do.
Not only are these changes impacting seniors in Manchester, but across the state. Jack Cronenwetter, a senior at South Windsor High School, talks about some of the things he now has to take into consideration while applying for college.
My SAT scores, not as much though due to COVID because most schools are test optional. I'm taking my location into consideration in case anything changes due to COVID. And I'm also, taking into consideration like the price because I don't want to spend a whole tuition's money just to have a college experience at home.
It's safe to assume that missing out on these fun events can impact behavior. The good news is that Ms. Powell, a guidance counselor here at MHS, sees that behavior isn't directly impacting applications, just the lack of use towards resources.
For example, this year we weren't able to deliver our classroom lessons to 12th graders in the classroom because of the pandemic. So we basically offered our lessons online to our students through Google Meets, and we had very few kids attend those.
In addition to these sessions, she gave some helpful de-stressing advice that may come in handy when you are feeling overwhelmed.
For stress relief is to understand that certain things are beyond your control and to leave them be. That you can't control them, it's not your fault, and this is the way it is, and to accept that. I think acceptance is a very important part in some form of stress relief.
Even with all of these factors and unknowns, the class of 2021 continues to persevere through all of these tough times. We wish you all the best of luck in the application process and the continuing of education down the road. From The Pulse, this has been Mia Hickey reporting.
Best of luck to those who will be continuing their education next year. While we can't all be together this school year, the Student Equity Advisory Team, or SEAT, is working to bring us together through appreciation of culture and celebrating diversity. Ty LeGeyt highlights this meaningful group.
Good morning, MHS. Here is your morning music brought to you by the Student Equity Advisory Team.
From swinging blues to contemporary rock, SEAT's daily music selections have been a bright spot for many MHS students, honoring culture and diversity. The Student Equity Advisory Team is a student-led club that helps to fight racism and advocate for social justice and human rights within the MHS and greater Manchester community. The brutal murder of George Floyd in May inspired Layla, an MHS junior, to take action.
I was actually talking to one of the team leaders and I that night, and we were like, what if we did something? We didn't know it was going to end up being SEAT, just did something so that people can have an outlet to talk about this stuff, because it's a lot to hold inside of you.
Layla and her team have been working diligently to implement an array of projects that are concentrated on building cultural awareness. Mr. Skripik, a faculty advisor for SEAT, sees youth-led work as a catalyst for change and underscores SEAT's indispensable value.
I think sometimes kids know best, and kids know a little bit more than the adults. And so I think giving ownership and giving opportunity for young people to really seize on the particular moment that we're in, while also saying we want to carve out the opportunities and destiny of our particular school community, needs to happen.
Through cultural awareness, educating other students on racial problems, and facilitating dialogue on real-world inequalities, Layla and her team hope to have a lasting impact on MHS. From MHS, this has been Tyler Jett reporting.
Appreciate all the hard work SEAT is doing to make MHS a more positive environment for everyone. You may not know it, but by Woodbridge Pizza there is an old farm. This farm is now used for educational purposes. Daisy Gonzalez spotlights the slice of Manchester history.
There's history everywhere. You may just have to look for it. But in Manchester, it lies in the green.
What you may know as the farm behind Woodbridge is actually the Woodbridge Farmstead, built in 1835 and was owned by the Woodbridge family until 1998. Ray and Thelma Carr Woodbridge had gifted the property to the Manchester Historical Society, where it is now preserved as a museum where the community can learn about the town. When entering through the gates, what you would see is a simple red barn, but what you don't see is the history and meaning it holds. Dave Smith has dedicated his time to education and preservation as a curator for Manchester Historical Society.
The Woodbridges changed it from an orchard. They grew potatoes, hay, apples. They continued to grow apples. And then in the early 1900s, they changed over to dairy.
There are many more members that contribute to maintaining Manchester's history, like Peggy Newton.
Our goal is just to keep it up and to also educate people about how things were back then.
Both Peggy and Dave go out their way to make the kids visit something to remember. From hay rides around the barn to making apple juice from 100-year-old apple trees.
The thing we hope to do in the future is build a tourist or visitor center where that old shed is back there. They probably kept the wagons in that way back when, but it's falling apart and we really love to make a nice visitor center.
There's a lot in store for the Woodbridge Farmstead, and donations are always welcome at manchesterhistory.org. Next post, we will be diving into more of Silk City Spotlights. From the Post, this has been Daisy Gonzalez reporting.
Well, that's all the time we have for you today, Manchester. If you would like to see more of our work, head to mhstelevision.com or MHS Rep Productions on YouTube. Make sure to check us out on Instagram at MHS_television. If you have any story ideas for our next program, you can email Mr. Larson at b11elars@mpspride.org. I'm Emily Madden, and this has been The Pulse. Let's go.